I read in today's Guardian newspaper the following: for the first time in possibly a millennium, fewer than half of all Britons call themselves Christian. This month's updating of the 2011 consensus suggests that the latest figure is down from 60% to 51%, with predictions that next year it will be in the 40s. No one yet knows, it says, what the pandemic has done to religious faith, but the trend across the Western world is the same. At least in wealthier countries, religion of any sort is becoming a minority practice. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, is an ardent evangelical. That means he wants to convert everyone to Christianity. His Anglican Church has spent a phenomenal £240 million since 2017 on a mission to plant new churches, apparently to no avail. And our writer links to another article published on November the 17th last month entitled "Archbishop, if church is to die, let it be an operatic death." And the article says, "The Church of England is not on the way out," the Archbishop of Canterbury declared yesterday, this was last month, but conceded that next year will mark 70 unbroken years of annual decline in the number of churchgoers. With less than 2% of the population now attending church regularly, Justin Welby's second-in-command, guy called Stephen Cottrell, told General Synod, that's the parliament of the church, quote, "Even if it doesn't, let our death be a grand operatic death. Let it be something fantastic. Let's not crawl into a corner," unquote. So, talk about making a virtue out of necessity. Let's go out with a bang, he seems to be saying. But Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, told the Synod, quote, "We may often be foolish, we are always sinful, but at every point, including especially here, we need to learn to listen to the stranger on the shore," quote unquote. Attendance at church services fell to an all-time low, 690,000 in 2019, from almost 1.2 million in 1986. The decline, according to the article, is largely caused by a lack of younger worshippers to fill the spaces left by older parishioners when they die. The average age of a Church of England worshipper is 61, which is quite extraordinary. Now, I was reading a Muslim writer on a related subject today, and he says something very interesting, because Muslim populations in Europe are now quite substantial. And in many places, Britain, France and Germany, Islam is the second religion of those countries. A writer says the following, that Muslims can claim, he says, to belong here to Europe, to the real deep Europe. Secular politicians, he says, whatever their opportunistic and desperate claims, they are in many cases aliens, foreigners, recent immigrants from planet atheism. So he's saying these secularist politicians are not really from Europe. They have no deep roots here. They don't belong to deep, historic, traditional Europe. They come from planet atheism. Contrast them and the hateful columnists with the Muslim men and women who have a family life which recalls how Europe used to be. This is fascinating, he said. Figures now show that more than half of the British people see family and friends less than once a month, while only 20% eat a meal at the family dining table at least once a week. This is certainly not the Ishmaelite and Hagarine way. Now, that's our author's way of speaking of Muslims. This is not the Muslim way, which assumes that 3 generations will live together in every house, and that everyone keeps up with the relatives. Muslims are socially conservative in many ways, but real Europeans of a more European age would have recognized and honored, he writes. Thus we find the prophetic saying, quote, that the whole earth is made a mosque for me, to be true. We experience a real belongingness here. We profess so much of what always constituted the deepest truth of European culture. All humans, irrespective of religious allegiance, he says, have a capacity to recognize and yearn for the fitra, and they should be able to see it in us. And here he quotes the 30th surah, the 30th ayah, which I'll read here in Abd al-Halim's translation. So, Prophet, as a man of pure faith, stand firm and true in your devotion to religion. This is the natural disposition God instilled in mankind. This is the original pattern, the original fitra of God. There is no altering God's creation, and this is the right religion, though most people do not realize it. That's Surah 30, verse 30. Our writer continues, we should be confident that a real, uncompromising, fitri Islam will always gather an audience of respect. For like a majestic tree, it puts down deep roots, which reach beyond even the Christian and Jewish to the religion of Abraham as Hanif. So he was a monotheist. I'll end the quote there. So this is a fascinating insight that Muslims, although some, particularly older generations, may dress differently than other Europeans do, but in terms of their enduring values, the realities which they bear witness to, their socially conservative lifestyle, their maintenance of family values and tradition, and so on, these speak to an older Europe, a Europe of the deep past. And so this is a healthy, positive thing. This is the fitra being manifest in our midst. And whilst society around us today seems to offer little more than nihilism, relativism, and a very secularist, militant liberalism, which disintegrates society and leaves us empty, the second largest religion in Europe continues to bear witness to these eternal truths of our human nature and of faith. So in the deepest sense, Muslims can claim, he says, that they belong here to the real deeper Europe because they bear witness to these realities. And secular politicians are bear witnessing to a very recent and socially disintegrative and nihilistic philosophy, to such that one recent right-wing commentator spoke of the suicide of Europe. And he, this is Douglas Murray in his recent book, is an atheist, but he laments the absence of faith and spoke of the suicide of Europe because we no longer know why we're here. We no longer know what our purpose is. We no longer have a sense of direction, and we have lost the sense of God. So that's a fascinating insight. I personally am very unhappy that the churches are declining. I want to see strong, robust churches bearing witness to traditional values and to worship of God and so on, despite whatever disagreements there may be with their theology in certain matters. Nevertheless, they are infinitely, I think, to be preferred to an empty, militant atheism, which seeks to reduce us to nothing. To an absence of meaning, an absence of God, an absence of humanity even, which is a necessary consequence of that. So there we are. I just wanted to share those thoughts with you. Till next time.